Welcome back to Brick and Brand, a podcast at the intersection of retail and entrepreneurship. We're your co-hosts, Delaney and Brettley Roach. Have I ever told you the story about the time that I asked my boss on his very first day for a promotion?
Wait, what? Is this a real story? I've never heard this before.
He had no idea who I even was. So let me rewind real quick and set the tone for you. So I'm a host, okay? I am bottom of the food chain at P.F. Chang's. I'm an hourly employee. Again, couldn't be lower on the totem pole. We get a new operating partner, and it is his very first day in the office. He's going around with some people from corporate. He's shaking some hands. He's getting his office broken in. This is a time for him to interact with the managers at the restaurant. He's not interacting with any employees, right? We are an afterthought.
He doesn't even know you exist at this point.
Doesn't know we exist. Yeah. I'm not even sure what his name is, what his exact role is, but I see that he's in a suit, and so I know he's important. He's with people from corporate. He's dressed well. There's been some rumbling around the store that we're getting a new operating partner. I see this man walk in and I go, he's important. I need to talk to him. It is my goal to be a server because I know that servers make way more money.
Right.
However, to get to a server, there's 3 or 4 more steps for me to climb up. You have to earn your position. And typically, you spend 6 to 12 months in each role before you get promoted. I've been a host for about 2 months. So I see this man walk in. I walk straight up to the office and knock on the door. And I barge in there and I just stick out my hand and go, "Hi, I'm Delaney Roach. It's a pleasure to meet you." Mind you, this man, bless his heart.
I have to interrupt because I have so many thoughts and I want you to keep going. Were you nervous at all doing this, knocking on his door, or was there any anxiety, or was it just like, I want this, I don't care?
Yeah, I was definitely scared, a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I knew that servers made way more money, and I knew that I could do it. In my 2 months standing at the host stand watching the servers do their role, I was like, I've got this in the bag. I know I can do that, and I know I can do it better than the ones that they have right now. I'm probably 19 years old, and again, this man is like, you are the dirt beneath my shoe. Why are you even talking to me?
Right. And you picked his first day. Did you have a thought of maybe waiting a few days or getting to know him, or were you just like so overly eager?
It probably crossed my mind.
Briefly?
It probably crossed my mind briefly, but I thought, what better time than the present? You know, it's his first
I
day.
love that about you.
It's gonna stick with him. He's gonna remember it. It's probably gonna jar him a little bit. So anyways, I walk into his office, I introduce myself, and I say, point blank, I know you don't know who I am. I'm going to be the best server you've ever had. And he looked at me like deer in the headlights. Just, who is this person? Who do they think they are in here? I don't even think he said anything. He just stared at me blankly. And
he's
so
probably
then,
trying to figure out, like, am I mad? Am I impressed?
How do I even respond
what is going
to
on?
this? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so he goes, okay, well, how long have you been a host? And I said, about 2 months. But trust me, I know I can handle it. I know I can be a server. And honestly, he was a great boss. And he didn't slam the door on my face. He very nicely said, yeah, we have protocols in place for this, and you will earn your time in each position before you get moved up. And there's quite a few positions before you get to server, so you've got a ways to go. So I basically kind of got a no, like, good luck, what are you thinking? But in a nice way. And then I walked out and wiped my sweaty hands off and got in my car and was like, okay, I did it.
I just did that. Oh my gosh.
And long story short, a couple months later, I get moved up to busser. I get moved up after that to server. get moved up to bartender, quickly climbed through the ranks, and about a year later, I had climbed up about 6 positions, and they were offering
What?
me a management role.
Were you continuing to ask for promotions, or was it just they kept promoting you, like, quickly?
Had to remind them, of course, and continue to kind of
Yeah,
advocate for myself and say, "Give me feedback. I wanna get better." But at the same time, I think it was because I had the courage to go in there and say, "I deserve to be there. What are those people
right.
doing that I can't do?"
Like, I truly have never heard that story before. I'm even more impressed with you. I didn't think that was possible, but dang,
Well, I
girl,
was
I love that.
19 years old, and when I first started there, and I became a manager at 21, and
What?
it was not because I was so stellar. I mean, I think a
Yeah.
huge part of it was I knew what I deserved, I knew where I wanted to get. I was willing to take feedback and constructive criticism, and I said, "I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna do it faster than anybody else." It was a great company, and I'm still good friends with that operating partner to this day. And
And really, you were told no. It wasn't like he
right.
said, "Oh, sure, let me promote you
No,
right now." You
no.
heard a no, but you kept asking and you kept following through. Like, I want this, actually, I demand it. I
Yeah,
mean, that kind of makes you stand out when you're someone
totally,
like in a position of power. That is such a cool story.
totally. Have you ever asked for promotions? I know we don't necessarily do that in our business now, but in past businesses or past careers, did you ever go
You know,
in, ask for a promotion or ask for
I don't
pay raise?
I was trying to think that when you were telling me your story, if I had ever like asked for a promotion. I think that at my last company at Granite, which is the company my before I came to where I am now, and they gave me pretty regular promotions like every year or two.
Okay,
I think at one point I did ask them and say like I really want to be like assistant property manager or property manager, but it was kind of right when I was thinking I want to go into sales anyway, so I wasn't like so committed to it to where I kept following up. But
totally,
I like the point of what you are saying, that principle is universal, whether it's a career, whether it's a boyfriend, a family member. The idea of being able to advocate for yourself and speak up for what you want, it's something that's very real, like in our business. I don't know if everyone experiences as much in their fields, but being able to ask for what you want is really a big deal, especially today.
totally. The biggest thing that I learned from that role in that experience was if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else is going to.
No.
If you're comfortable being stagnant where you're at, even if you're just outwardly comfortable, maybe inside you know you deserve better, or you want a higher role, but the energy that you're putting off and the way that you're talking about it is, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm happy
Right.
with my role." You're gonna stay there
Right.
forever, and
Right.
you're not gonna continue to grow. So having the courage to stand up for yourself, and it's scary. Are you kidding me? It's always scary to do that. But
I
it's
feel like you learned it a lot younger than me. I was not good at standing up for myself or asking for what I want. I really don't think I was good at it until I started in brokerage. That's when I felt like when I look at my life, that's where I felt like there was kind of a direction shift in my confidence, not right away, but because of what we do and the nature of it, if you don't stand up for yourself in our business, you won't be in our business. Like it's just
mhm,
as simple as that.
you won't
So
make
I
it.
kind of started to learn those lessons when I started working in sales. And one of the reasons is because we do so much what we call negotiation. And if you're not in sales, you may think like negotiation, that's not a word I really think of that much in my day to day, but it really is simple. It's really just getting what you want from another
Mhm,
person. So we're all
mhm,
doing negotiation all the time,
mhm,
but our whole business kind of revolves around it.
mhm. And I think there's it's so taboo to negotiate on behalf of yourself or advocate for what you want. And so now in our careers, we advocate and negotiate on behalf of our clients all day long. And it's such a critically important part of our business, and I think it's so transferable throughout life, like you said, whether it's dating, it's who's gonna pay the bill at dinner, or standing up for yourself to your family. I mean, these are all really hard things.
Yeah, and the more we negotiate for our clients, I think just by default you become more comfortable negotiating for yourself because you start to get used to demanding what you want. And so in our business, if we're representing a landlord, what are we actually negotiating for the listener who may not be in real estate? And, it's things like rent. It's things like how long does a tenant have to build out their space? How much tenant allowance or money is the landlord giving the tenant? It's all the deal points. And when you're representing a landlord, your job is to basically get them the best deal that you can. And then if you're representing the tenant, it's just exactly the opposite.
Mhm.
And tenant allowance is basically money that the landlord gives a tenant who's going to lease his space to help with the build out improvement. So if a space has never been occupied before, it typically has a concrete slab, there's no HVAC, there's no bathrooms, no electrical. So it's very expensive. So they give them some money to help them
It's
build out
hundreds of
and
thousands of dollars.
could be. Yes.
Can be.
And if
Yeah.
it's a purchase of a building, it's, how much time do I have to do my inspections? There's so many things to negotiate. And it might seem like those are just boring business terms, blah. Who wants to really think about those? But those things actually are a big deal because they can make or break someone's not just business investment, boring business investment, they can make or break like their financial situation.
And the difference between a good deal or a good investment versus a bad deal can be dependent upon those terms. Think about it. If you are about to lease a space and you want to build it out to be a nail salon and it's going to be approximately 250 grand build out for you to make the space what you want it to be so you can open for business. That's going to take time to get a permit. It's going to take time to do your construction. So, do you want to start paying rent the day you sign the lease, even though you know you can't open for 8 months? No, that's 8 months of rent down the drain. So, those are things that we're negotiating on behalf of our client, whether our client's the landlord or the tenant. And like you said, they seem like boring business points, but this is the difference between someone's livelihood and
Well,
being able to get open.
I just want to double click on what you just said because it's so important. This is what every business person knows. The example you just shared about the permits, that can come down to like a word or two in the LOI, but it can be financially devastating if you get it wrong.
Mhm.
So these negotiations, these business points can actually become very emotional and they can feel personal to the client when they're not getting what they want from the other side. So we have to be very careful and just very on point with our negotiations because every negotiation is different. You could do 100
Mhm.
deals, they're all going to be different. And every personality is completely different. So you're always kind of changing
100%.
how you negotiate and get what you want.
Exactly. And that leads us into some of the main rules that Bradley and I try to follow in negotiating when we're negotiating for clients, landlords, tenants, tools that we use every single day.
100%. And Delaney, you're a little bit newer in the business. And I just have to ask, since you've been negotiating the last like year and a half, has there been anything that really surprised you about negotiation or has it kind of come naturally? And I feel like negotiating you're either kind of naturally good at it or you're not, depending on your personality. And like, were you
That's
able to,
true.
did you like see these rules we're going to talk about? Did you kind of start seeing those early on?
Yes. Yes and no. I definitely had a lot of trial and error, don't get me wrong. But growing up in tennis and growing up playing sports, I've always been kind of resilient and just put on a brave face and doesn't matter what's happening inside, everything's screaming in your head, all the voices going, "What's going
Yeah.
on?" Panic.
Yeah.
But you put on a brave face. So I think I had a little bit of that tenacity and resilience already in
Hmm.
me. But for sure, I had to learn the rules of negotiating and how to do this, how to get more comfortable. I mean, it
Yeah.
still can be really scary, and we're not even negotiating for ourselves necessarily. So we don't have that same level of emotional connection.
I think your point to playing competitive sports, just I want to double click on that because I think that the the principles that you use to play competitive tennis and sports 100% translate into what we're talking about. And so I think for the athletes out there and the people who have just competed in something, these will feel a little bit more natural, but there's so many rules of negotiation. These are just three that I feel like if you don't have these three, you shouldn't even be at the table. You won't be able to hold your own. These are just like the fundamentals of
Mhm.
how you can negotiate. And so the first one, I won't delay any further. Never show your true emotions. This is very important.
Cool, calm, and collected at all
Feel
times.
everything, show nothing. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you do feel everything. And this doesn't
Mhm.
mean to everyone listening that you are not going to feel emotional because deals do get personal. All it really means is you don't show your emotions to anybody. You have to be a little bit detached as you're
Mhm.
negotiating.
I think of showing your emotions as, like, showing your hand of cards. Keep
Mhm.
those close to your chest, because when you start bringing in emotion, it can look like desperation or needy or this is our only option, so we have to make it work, and all of which puts you in not the best spot.
Yeah, one of the things, the analogies I always thought about too when I was starting, and no one really ever like trained me on negotiation, but I always had this instinctual feeling, especially when I would go into a room of all men or I'd be on the phone with all men negotiating for my client and I'm just brand new in the business. And it can be intimidating, but I remember always, I don't know where I got this, but I've always pictured the analogy of sharks when they smell blood in the ocean and they go into like a frenzy and they attack you. And we see that in like Jaws and all these movies and it's, it's funny, it's interesting, but it's true, right? Sharks do smell blood and they attack, and I've always pictured that being true in real estate because I think it is. And when you're negotiating, a little bit of emotion or desperation or weakness can send the sharks who you're negotiating with into like a killing frenzy. So you have to be completely like
Yes.
rock solid. Like they can't
Yes.
get to you no matter what they say. They will not break like the facade. And it seems like extreme in a way, but it's really not when you're in these situations. Like Delaney, you said, admitting that something is your favorite space or your only option or really important to your client are all the worst things you can do. You have
Mhm.
to just be um,
'Cause it puts you in a
push for
spot
your
of
client, but
desperation.
yeah, you have to not care that much. Like, sure, we can do this or we can walk away. Like, we have plenty of
Mhm.
other options. And you just have to be
Mhm.
steely in that way.
Which I think can be even harder, and maybe this is me projecting because 'cause I'm a little bit newer in the industry, but I'm typically negotiating with someone who's quite a bit older than me, has been doing this much longer than me, has way more experience, has a higher net worth. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have this feeling of, "Oh, I'm at a disadvantage. This person has all these things over me." But it can be a level playing field. It absolutely can, and if it's the right
Yeah.
deal and it's meant to work out, then it will. So positioning yourself and your client in the best possible way and keeping your emotions close to your chest totally helps strengthen the case.
And something I always think about in those moments when I'm feeling insecure is that maybe it's more of a level playing field than I actually thought because they wouldn't be on the phone with me. They wouldn't be in the room with me if they didn't need this deal. Everybody needs something,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And if they're taking the time to talk to you, they need you. And so that should be comforting in those moments. So, what are some things, Delaney, that you would tell everyone listening are like the worst things to say when you're negotiating really anything? Some of the worst
Um,
phrases.
we have to make this work. This is our only option. My client this is my client's main priority, this space. We're not considering anything else. Again, those just put you
We're
in a
running out of
position of
time.
we're running out of
Yeah,
time is
we
a
have to make
huge
this work.
one.
Things like that.
Yes. And then they go, "Oh, they need this, so I can walk all over them because they need
Of
this deal."
course. Yeah. So, Delaney, what is the second rule of negotiation that you would say is equally as important as not showing your emotions?
Yeah, I think reading the room and understanding the different players in the parties
Mhm.
that you're working with is so important. I feel like just innately, I'm very observant. I'm not necessarily the loudest person in any room, but I am clocking everyone's reactions, everyone's facial expressions, every
All
time they
same.
look at their partner,
Yeah.
and yeah, I am
It's a
making a
woman's
mental note
advantage
of
in the
that.
business.
It
Yeah.
is, 100% it is. I've gotten
Yeah.
off calls where my partner's a guy or there's other guys in the room and I'm like, "Did you see that happen?" And it's just right over their head. They have no idea. So,
Same.
that's something you can totally use to your advantage is reading the room and paying attention to who's in charge here, who has the most power,
Right.
who am I negotiating directly with, who are the people above him or her that they're getting approval from.
And I think that especially comes into play when you're on these meetings or these Zoom calls where there's 4 or 5 people. Sometimes there can be even more, but there's attorneys, there's landlords, there's asset managers, and you get on and no one really knows each other, but it's down to the final items of the lease. And you do need to immediately pick up on who actually is making the decisions, who is maybe talking a little bit too much, who's maybe overly friendly but really has no authority. Like there's a lot of different things. And the sooner you can pick up on that, and also what's their negotiation style? Because I've walked into rooms where I've just been bulldozed and that's their style, right? Is attack.
Mhm.
And then there's other
Mhm.
people whose style is to say nothing. So picking up on what the style is and how they're positioning themselves really before you say too much is super, super important. And there's power dynamics that we need to spot here that I think are super important. I love these because I see them all the time when I'm negotiating.
Yeah, well, one of the first thing that comes to mind is speed and someone rushing you and they're turning it into pressure. You have to do this deal now, it's gonna fall out, which is just a tactic. It's really just a tactic to make you make a decision quickly and agree to something maybe that you wouldn't have if you had taken the time to fully think it through.
When you notice someone using the speed technique on you, whether it's in business or personal, know that that is a sign of weakness on their end. There's
Mhm.
something they're uncomfortable about. So they're trying to rush you. So you don't have to tell them that you recognize this, but know immediately that you have a position of power there. And the second is silence. This is very common tactic. Decision makers, negotiators will remain silent and make people feel uncomfortable. So don't give in to this. Be willing to sit in silence as long as you need to. It's just a tactic. They think it's giving them leverage, but for those of us who know what they're doing, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Be comfortable with uncomfortable silence and don't give in to that.
And one thing I will say, just to close out this rule number 2, is if you're lucky enough to be negotiating with a partner, which a lot of us do, a perfect negotiation dynamic would be what I call the push and pull. And this
Mm.
has been super effective for me. Me and my partners have very different personalities. I'm a little bit more of a pusher, and they're a little bit more of a puller, which relieves pressure. One of the most effective techniques I've seen is when you're negotiating, you have one partner apply pressure and then the other release the pressure by whether it's making a joke, lightening up the environment, making everybody feel comfortable. And then
Is
you
this
push
a
and you release
bad
again.
cop, good cop kinda thing?
100%. That's
Okay,
exactly what it is. Yeah.
okay.
And in theory, and how I've seen this work is every time a push and a pull happens, you move towards your goal, even if it's ever so slightly.
Mhm.
But partner up with someone who's different than you, and you can kind of balance out. But there has to be someone willing to push and then someone willing to release pressure.
Totally. Capitalize on your differences and your personality differences.
100%.
So, rule number 3, and all of these rules are so important, but this one is something I'm still working on, but don't negotiate yourself out of a good position. The loudest person in the room isn't necessarily the person with the most power
They're
or the
usually not.
smartest person. They're usually
Yeah.
not. Exactly.
Yeah.
So know when to put how to put yourself in a good position and then know when to shut your mouth and to just be silent.
I think this could be the most important rule. I feel like brokers and salespeople, if we're just talking about this in a business perspective, generally like to talk. And
Mhm.
I've seen so many brokers start to negotiate and they just don't stop talking. And I'm a little bit more of the quiet one and I listen and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if you're on my team, I'm thinking, please shut up. I'm kicking them under the table to shut up because I can see our position slipping. If
Yeah.
they're on the other side, I just let them talk because everything they say tells me something I need to know about their position. And this can
Mhm.
be hard for people because silence is uncomfortable, right?
Mhm. As soon as you feel the urge to over elaborate and explain yourself multiple times, stop. Literally just stop, take a deep breath,
Yeah.
and let there be uncomfortable silence. The way my brain works is, well, maybe if I just over elaborate or explain this in a better way, it'll change their mind. And the person on the
Hmm.
other side will agree to it or they'll see my perspective. When in reality, what you're doing is just filling their toolkit with things to use against you.
Yeah.
So
And they will
know
use
when
them
to
against
stop,
you.
and they will. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they'll burn you.
And if they have more questions about your position, they will ask. You don't necessarily need to offer up a dissertation on why.
So, we wanna jump into some rapid fire broker lingo, negotiation lines, or verbiage that we hear 24/7 and what it actually means. Now, this is specific for the most part to real estate, but I think it can be transferred to, again, any
Yeah.
part of life.
These are things people say all the time in our business. So we're very used to these phrases and they usually mean something other than what they actually say.
Exactly. One of the ones that I feel like we hear all the time is, "This is our best and final." And
Yeah.
what does that
What does
mean
that mean to
actually,
you,
Bradley?
Delaney? Oh, okay. You want me to answer? You give me the tough one. Yeah. So that can mean it's their best and final, right? I mean, sometimes that does happen,
Mhm,
but I would say majority of the time this is just a negotiation tactic.
mhm,
And you consider is their best and final offer one you can accept? And if it's not, you go ahead and counter back. But you
mhm,
certainly don't let it intimidate you into accepting a deal that you're not comfortable with. Everybody throws this around, I feel like, and it's not always accurate.
mhm.
So,
For example, somebody says this to you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
yeah,
If somebody
keep
says
going.
this to you on the phone, you just get a counter LOI back and they give it to you and they say, "This is our best and final. This is the best we can do. We don't have any more room." What I That's a scary position to be in, right? Because maybe it's not the offer that you wanted and you have to turn it back to your client, and what are you gonna do? Tell them you have to accept this or walk away?
Yeah, no, it
What's your
depends.
advice?
So every deal is different. There are
Of
deals,
course.
and this comes to where like reading the room and picking up on everything that's happened leading up to that point. If someone
Mhm.
just picked up the phone and said, "This is best and final," I had no context, I wouldn't know what to do. But typically at this point, you've had like weeks, if not months, of negotiating, and you have experienced things like speed, pressuring, silence, leveraging, and all these things show me whether or not this is truly their best and final. So I
Totally.
had a deal last week where I was continually told it was a very large transaction, and I was continually told a number that was best and final. But I kept getting called by this person asking, "Where is the response from your client? Where is it? Where
Mm,
is it? Where is it?" And I'm thinking, that's interesting. Why would he be calling me if he had so many other offers? So I
yep.
told my client, he says this is best and final, so he knows. But
Mhm.
if you wanna know just for me, I don't think it is. I think we split the difference, and we split the difference and we made the deal. So it just
Woo!
depends on
Love it.
thank you. It just depends on the deal, but there's some times when it is best and final, of
That's
course.
such good advice, though. Think back to all the interactions you've had, and are they using any of these leverage tactics over you? I think that's such good advice. So, great answer.
So, Delaney, I wanna ask you the next one. I'm sure you hear this all
Okay.
the time. What do you think and how would you respond if someone says ownership is very firm on this response? And that's all they
Yeah.
say.
Well, it's kinda similar to to the best and final. It's saying, "This is
Yeah.
our position, and they're not gonna budge." And it may be true in some cases, but in other cases, they probably need your deal. If it's a landlord and he's sitting with a vacant space and you're bringing him a tenant that's gonna pay him money every month to rent that space, you have a position of power. So I think you take it with a grain of salt. You try to read the room, understand the rest of the context of the deal, but I definitely wouldn't say you can't negotiate beyond this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
This phrase is like a pet peeve of mine. I'm always so annoyed when brokers say ownership is firm. I don't know why, it just like bugs the crap out of me. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you sound like a robot and a
Yeah.
paper pusher. I'm sorry, but like come up
Yeah.
with a better way to say, I would rather you say this is best and final than ownership is firm. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It just annoys me. I never say it to
Yeah.
people. I'll say like this is the best we can do, but to make it a third party, like somebody out there is firm. I don't know. It just annoys me.
Yeah.
I always push
Yeah.
back when I hear this.
Yeah. No, that's so true. This is giving kind of like I didn't know what else to say, so I'm gonna try and represent my ownership group, my client the
Yeah.
best I can. This is very firm. They're firm on this.
To me,
Like,
it's
okay,
like I don't want to think creatively. I don't want to try and get this
yeah,
done. I'm just going to repeat what I heard from my ownership. And that's not what we're
right.
supposed to do as brokers. We're supposed to always try and figure it out no matter what the ownership is saying.
We're
So,
matchmakers.
anyway,
Absolutely.
never tell me that, Delaney, on a deal, or you know what will happen. I'll freak out.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the third one that we hear all the time is we have other interest. Now, this obviously plants a seed of doubt of no, they have someone else who maybe has a better deal, who has less downtime. They're going to start paying rent faster than we are. Maybe they don't need my deal to happen. And they've got other interests that may be further down the line or has progressed quicker than our deal. And so this can be scary, but what does this mean to you, Bradley? Or what do you think about this when you
I
hear
usually
this?
start laughing, actually, when I hear this. I think it's really funny because it's like, yeah, no crap, you have other interests. We all have other interests. That means nothing to me. My
Yeah,
deal is independent on its own. So I think this is another kind of lame one. It's a way of
it's a scare
creating
tactic. Yeah.
pressure that doesn't even exist. We live in San Diego and Dallas, two of like the hottest markets. Of course, you have other interests. If there was no interest on your space, do you think my client would want it? No.
Yeah.
So I usually laugh at this and I don't really even bother telling it to my client unless it's like a really serious situation.
Yeah.
Delete. Bye bye.
Delete. Unbothered, completely unbothered. And also, you have no idea. They may be saying that about a sign call. Somebody that
Yeah,
cold called them off a sign yesterday, and it has no merit or value. It's just somebody else might be interested. I mean, we don't know the context,
100%.
right? It could totally
Yeah,
just be a scare tactic to make you get nervous, have to work faster, apply the speed or
right.
the pressure.
Yes.
So, don't let anyone get away with
Yes.
this, people. No,
No,
absolutely not.
these are the best words of wisdom for all of us. But yeah, basically these rules, these principles, they're not something that's unique to real estate, like we said earlier, or even unique to business. I mean, these are things I feel like everybody encounters and everybody kind of struggles with advocating for themselves. It doesn't come naturally. I don't think we were conditioned socially to do it. And people say, "Oh, you're greedy, you're pushy, you are all" I've been called all kinds of things for standing up for myself, and it's not okay. We should ask for a raise. We should ask for rent to be paid on time from our roommates or whatever the situation may be.
Absolutely. Protect yourself and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. We always think we're being cocky or too self absorbed, but that's again, you won't get anywhere. You won't make any progress. People will continue to walk all over you if you don't have the backbone to stand up. And something that I think is worth mentioning is a lot of times we negotiate against ourselves. Like somebody says, presents a number to you and we just accept it because we're like, I don't want to push back. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to create hostility. I don't want there to be an awkward environment. So I'm just going to accept it, even though I know it's more than I should be paying for this. Or over explaining yourself or saying it's fine when it's not at all fine. Whether this is, an apartment that you're renting to live in or you're taking care of a dinner bill for you and all of your friends. "Oh, is it okay if you just pay for it?" When in your head, "No, it's not fine. I can't afford this. I want my friends to
Right.
chip in." But instead of standing up for yourself because you don't want it to be awkward or uncomfortable or somebody to think you're being too pushy, we just say it's fine. And in that instance, we just lost by negotiating against ourselves. We didn't even
Yeah.
present the opportunity.
And I think something you said is going to be really important to everyone listening is that we don't want to create a hostile environment, is what you said. We
Mhm.
don't want people to be uncomfortable. But the reality is, you don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be cocky. You don't have to be rude to advocate for yourself. Really, you just have to be clear. And as we talked about earlier, you have to be calm and you have to be confident. You can talk in the same tone of voice we're talking to each other now. You don't have to yell. In fact, I would say definitely don't yell. And you will get the same point across, and it will be even more impactful when you're clear and
Absolutely.
calm. So it's their decision. If they want to feel awkward about it or feel hostile, that's on them. You communicate in a clear, confident way.
Mhm. And use these 3 rules. Don't show your emotion. Yelling or getting angry, that's showing your emotion. So, coming from a place that's cool, calm, collected, reading the room, understanding who you're talking to and who is on the other side. And then also don't negotiate yourself out of a good position by being afraid to stand up or over elaborating or feeling the need to explain 10,000 times and give a dissertation on why this feels appropriate. Just present your position clearly and then let there be silence. So, and it's not about sounding tough. It's not about being difficult or cocky. It's about being honest and advocating for yourself because if you don't, no one else will.
And with that, we're going to move on to our deal or no deal section, which is a theme that we are doing the month of January. We'll do another different one in February, but this one is going to be really fun. And we have not seen these questions before. So it's basically negotiation in real life on
Yep.
different scenarios. So,
Yep.
Delaney, I wrote the first one. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you.
Okay.
It's called the job offer, which I'm asking you this because you have been in a situation where you negotiate your job salary
Okay.
and your position. So you get a job offer and the salary is fine, not offensive, but it's not actually what you wanted. They say, "This is our standard offer." The clock starts ticking and your heart rate increases. So you have three options here. Do you say, "I'm just grateful to be here," and accept immediately? Ask time Ask for time to review and counter. Start explaining your rent, your student loans, and your childhood dreams to the boss. A, B, or C? What would be the correct negotiation tactic here?
Well, I have to be honest. I have for sure done both A and C multiple times. I've been in
Yeah,
this
same.
position more times than I can count. I've definitely just accepted it at first offer and said, fine, whatever, I'll take it, even though inside I'm like, no, this is not enough.
Hmm.
And I've also definitely started going, but I have to pay this and I have to pay this and I have a pet and I also have these bills. And so
Yeah.
But the correct answer for sure, and I think what I'm learning taking forward is you review, take some time, say, "Thank you so much for the offer. I'm gonna take some time to review, and I'll be back to you with my thoughts and potentially a counter offer." And
Right.
that is a position of strength. There is no ounce of embarrassment that you should have around that, or you should not be uncomfortable to say that at all. That's a
The
position of
answer.
power.
Yeah.
Okay, Bradley, number 2, I have a question for you. Your landlord emails you the rent is going up, okay?
This
You
sounds
stare.
familiar.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is a real life
Woo,
scenario.
PTSD, yeah.
I know.
You stare at the number like it literally personally betrayed you. It's that high, okay? Then they follow it up by saying, "The market supports this number." Do you A, say nothing and to complain to your friends about it for the next year? Do you B, ask for a concession, a longer term, or a reduction in the rent? Or C, do you start Zillow scrolling while staying exactly where you are?
Is Zillow scrolling meaning to see if the market really does support it?
Yeah, or looking for another place, like looking for an
Got it.
alternative, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
just basically
Well, A
scrolling
is
like
doom scrolling. Yeah. A is definitely wrong. You don't just start complaining to your friends. That gets you nothing. You complain to them later. B was ask for a concession.
a longer term or a reduction.
Yeah. I think B 100% is the winner because basically, if he is going to insist on a higher rent, the very bare minimum you could get is something else out of him. Maybe it is a longer term or a shorter term, depending on what you want, or it's for him
Mhm,
to chip in on the electricity bill. And him asking you for something is the perfect opportunity to say, well, yes, but I need something from you. Or if you really can't take on the rent, then you just say no and submit a counteroffer.
mhm. But you'll never know if you don't ask, right? He's
Exactly.
asking or your landlord's asking. Why
He's
not
not
ask?
afraid.
Yeah, why not ask
Yeah.
back? Absolutely.
So this last one is the dating edition, which I think all of us can really relate to. It hits really close to home. Sometimes it hurts a little
Great.
bit.
Great. Can't
Delaney,
wait.
I'm going to let you answer this one so I don't get triggered. But anyway, you've been seeing someone, they text you. So what are we? You want clarity, you want commitment, you want direction. Do you say
Okay.
A, say whatever you want is fine? B, state what you're actually looking for and then sit in silence? Or C, over explain so hard you talk yourself out of your own standards? Oh boy.
Oh boy, this is very triggering. Well, I've definitely been a part of all 3. No, but definitely state what you're looking for and then sit in silence. I know that's so
Yes.
much easier said than done, especially when it's in a relationship and your feelings or your emotions are on the line. But why else? Why would you do anything but, right? Stand up for
Hmm.
what you want and don't
Right.
waste your time. So,
Yeah.
definitely.
Clarity is not
Definitely.
pressure.
Yep.
100%. And so now we're going to transition into kind of the what we do at the end of every episode, which is talk about the brands we love. This is honestly one of my favorite parts of each episode because we just get to highlight the businesses that we're really obsessed with lately. And there's so many, we can never fit them all in. But Delaney, I'm
Yeah.
going to start with you. What is
Okay.
a business or a brand you want to highlight this week for the audience?
Yay, I'm actually so excited to do this week. So, I am highlighting the Burns Collective. I actually have a beautiful hat here that I was gifted by the business owners, Noelia and Eli Burns. It's a husband and wife team. And this is one of those brands, honestly, that reminds you why people take the leap and build something from the ground up. So, the Burns Collective is a faith-based Pilates concept rooted in community, intention, and genuinely good people doing good things and doing things the right way. So, over the past year, this brand has been hosting pop up events, classes, collaborating with the community all throughout San Diego as well as Orange County. And the response has been through the roof. The community shows up, every event has been sold out. People are obsessed with them because again, it's a Pilates concept, but they are community focused, they're faith-based, and founded by really, really, truly good, genuine people trying to make a difference. And honestly, they are doing just that. So I'm very excited to announce that they are officially taking the next step. The Burns Collective has signed a lease and they are going to be opening up their very first brick and mortar location. This is not something that happened overnight. It's the result of consistency, faith, hard work, and believing in the vision even before the space existed. So I've had the privilege of working with them and searching for a home
Incredible.
for the Burns Collective over the past few months. And I'm just so excited to announce that we found one. And
Yay!
yes, I know. And so
Can't
Noelia
wait
and
to come by
Eli
it.
are some of the kindest, honestly, most genuine founders and people I've ever met. Watching them turn this dream into a reality and into a physical space has just been incredible, to say the least. It's so empowering to see them do this, and I know the community is gonna come out and support like crazy. So Brick and Brand and myself, we're so proud of them and just a huge supporter of what they're building. If you've already been to one of their pop-ups, you know that this is something that's never been done before. And if you haven't yet, then you get the chance to try out their first location in a few months when they open up. Huge congratulations to the Burns Collective, and I'm obsessed with my beautiful hat.
I was gonna say you should put it on for anyone who's watching.
Yeah, for anyone who's watching, yes, check out the hat, but I'm just
No, but
so
that's
proud
so
of them.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Congratulations, everybody. My brand highlight this week is similar. It's in the boutique fitness space as well. And it is Ritual One Yoga, which is located, they have two locations. The one I go to is off of Knox and Travis in Dallas. It was founded in 2020 by two co-owners, Kayleen McGrainer and Nicole Preston. And basically they started it because they were busy moms. And they said, we would do an hour on our elliptical and then we would try and do strength training and then we would do yoga. And they wanted a place where you could kind of do all in one and not spend 3 hours of your day trying to work
Wow.
out.
Yeah.
And I have been a boutique fitness fanatic for probably 10 years. I've tried so many studios, ClassPass, not ClassPass, and I've never seen the kind of results that I have found at Ritual One. They are hands down the hardest classes I've ever taken. But with that said, you feel so good and so energized. The classes are very hot. They're heated to about 100 degrees and it's infrared. So it's heating you up kind of from the inside. So you will sweat a ton. They have yoga, Pilates, and HIIT. And sometimes you do a combination of all three, but you will leave feeling incredible. It will be the hardest thing you ever did. And you will 100% see a positive improvement on your strength, your flexibility, your posture. And really, the community is just so special there. Everyone is so friendly. We all support each other. And they're also like very, very hardcore group in the best way. They go at 5 a.m., they're there on Sunday,
Wow.
they're there if there's a snow day. Like this group is so committed to their workouts and to doing it as a team that it's actually really inspiring. And
Wow.
they opened their second location in Houston a few years ago in Post Oak, which says a lot about the demand that's out there for their brand. I'm sure they'll open more, but follow them, leave them a review if you have a chance to visit and you're in town. You will not be disappointed. But I do not assume
Yay.
any liability if you pass out from dehydration.
You'll be sore for 3 or 4 days, but won't be
Yeah,
able to walk for the next week, but it's
it'll
fine.
be worth it.
Yay, we love Ritual One. That's awesome. I don't think I've had the chance to go there yet, but I'm adding that to my
No,
list for when I come back to Dallas. So
100%.
thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And I think just to wrap up today, that's everything we have for you guys. I think just a reminder negotiation isn't about being aggressive, it's just about being clear, knowing your position, and knowing when to shut up. The hardest thing to learn for
Pretty
myself.
simple, but pretty
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Whether it's your career, your rent, your relationship, even your Venmo balance, advocating for yourself isn't dramatic. Avoiding it is. So let that empower you this next week to stand up for yourself. And thank you so much for listening.
We'll see you next week on Brick and Brand.
See you next week, everyone.